for conventions?
Yes, we do have one for conventions. It's part of the operation manual of the society. It's very, very extensive. It goes through everything that needs to be done. Put on a national convention for the Great Northern Railway Historical Society from A to Z. Everything is included in there. Any individual, if they want to put the time into it, can sit down with that part of the manual and put a successful convention on.
Is that manual available online?
Yes, it is. It's on the website.
Okay.
Okay, it's 8 o'clock. We might as well get going. I'd like to welcome everybody to the business meeting. It has been a very unusual year and a half, as we all know. Some positive notes. We've supported several 501c3s through the Heritage Fund with their grants. We're having this digital convention right now. Hopefully, we're all keeping our fingers crossed that we'll be in Nelson, British Columbia next September. The board has handled quite a few things. One of the most important things I feel has been the digital publication of the GOAT and reference sheets for those that would desire them, and for making an option for those overseas, which would save them not only the financially quite a bit of money, but also would entitle them to get their publications almost immediately, rather than in some cases waiting for over a month due to mailing. So hopefully, if we can beat this virus, maybe we can get back to a normal situation. Both archives are busy on a limited basis, digitizing reference material for the history of the Great Northern. So with that, do we have any questions? Okay, Mac, would you want to explain maybe the digital publication?
Yeah, this is piggybacking on what we've done already in the store. And the process every quarter is that K Spectra Print sends Bill Sorensen the files for the various publications. I create a SKU for them. He puts the files with each SKU so that people can go to the store and buy that publication. We're doing that on a quarter by quarter basis. That makes it not a big deal each quarter, whereas if we waited for a year, which we did it last year, it was kind of a pain in the neck. So this is a logical extension of that. That process that I just described would still continue, but at the same time, we would, Bill would send an email to tell people how to download the digital GOATs if they wanted to. The program will be basically that for the year 2023, everybody, foreign and domestic, will continue to get the printed copy, and they will have the option to get the material digitally. We know that there are some people, and I'm in this camp, that like to have the physical paper in my hand and sit in my nice soft chair to read stuff. There are other people, Don McLaughlin is in this camp, that would really just soon get it digitally. So this year will give people an opportunity to figure out what they like. At the end of the year, we will ask people to opt in to the digital. For the foreign folks, if they do that, we'll adjust their member dues down to the US rate. The difference between the dues that they are paying today and the US rate is the additional postage that we incur to get the physical publications to them. So basically we're saying if you'll take it digital, you won't have to pay for the postage that you're not using anymore, and you get it quicker. I think that will be very attractive to the non-US members that we have. US members, I don't think have quite the incentive that the overseas guys do, but we know that there are folks that would really rather have it digitally. That being the case, if they take it digital, that's all they'll get, only digital. They won't, in 2024, they will not get the hard copy. The result of that, from an organizational perspective, is that we will not be paying to print and mail some number of publications. Because of that, I expect that we'll save a little bit in the publications budget, which I think is an entirely good thing. Nobody's going to be forced to do anything, strictly optional. People will have to opt in to continue the digital publication.
I think it's going to increase our membership. It's going to be cheaper. What is it, $45 for our brothers in Canada? That's going to bring that down to $30 for them. Overseas, I believe that is what, $60, Mac?
That's correct.
And that's $60 US. So if their currency is considerably considerably less than their dollar than ours, then that's going to be more expensive for them. So I think it's going to increase membership because it's going to be considerably cheaper. And for people overseas, it's going to be considerably faster, rather than waiting for maybe a full month or longer to get their publications. Do we have any questions on the digital? Okay, Don?
Before we leave this, everybody's going to get an email explaining this shortly after the convention. I've got it mostly drafted, but we can only do so much at one time. So I have set that aside. Mary McLaughlin has reviewed the program. She understands how it's going to work. She doesn't have any particular concerns about it. So between me and Mary and Bill, I think we'll be able to do this kind of in the background. I mean, it's not any secret thing. Everybody's going to know about it. But the point is, it's not going to involve a whole herd of people to accomplish this.
Okay. Don, could you give us a little update on the archives? I know just on the east side, and you know a little bit about what's going on the west side.
I think Bob is on. My screen says Bob is on. I think that's Bob Kelly. I can't tell for sure. If he is, he's on mute. And if he isn't, it's somebody else. Anyhow, the West End archives, I can't tell you a whole lot about. If Bob does show up or is here, he can easily answer any of the questions about PNRA and the West End archive stuff, as well as where we're at with the software development called A2M, which is a web-based software that will allow researchers and just general members or general anybody to be able to look at our archives, look at our pictures, if that, which is about what 99.9% of the people go to the archives for, so they can look at the pictures.
Hey, Donna, I am here.
Okay.
And I will cover those things in detail in the next presentation too.
Oh, you're a good man, Bob. Thanks. Anyhow, so Bob will cover that. The East End, we've been busy in that this year. Starting the year, we were able to have Jeff Otto redesign some of our software that we use at our archives. We had found through a whole bunch of trial and error and whatever else you want to call it, there were a ton of mistakes, errors, things were misclassified. It happens. We're all volunteers. Everybody had a different opinion on how to spell St. Cloud. There were 7 different ways in the system. Minneapolis and St. Paul, I won't even get into, but those types of errors make it really, really hard for a researcher or just a general member or anybody else to be able to look at and find what is happening, or a specific item in the archive. So in order to alleviate that problem, which by the way was in the hundreds of thousands, was over 100,000 errors. We call them errors. Some people will call them a whole bunch of other stuff, but for our intents and purposes, they were errors. There was over 100,000 errors, which we needed to clean up. And the reason we needed to clean up is because this data is going to transition over to the program that Bob will talk about eventually. And to have all of these errors in there would be, it just wouldn't work. So in the process to do that, we had Jeff Otto put together a whole bunch of different programs for us, or screens that help us to do the manual, or to do via computer what would take forever to do via manual. So we're in the process right now. We've got roughly around 6 to 7 volunteers that show up on a regular basis, sometimes more, sometimes less, that work on the various aspects of the databases and the various collections that we have in Jackson Street. Those collections, the ultimate goal, just like it has been since day one back in 2001 or whenever this started, 2002, the ultimate goal is to get them available to all of you guys and anybody else, so that they can sit at home on their computer at the desk like we're doing today. And if they want to do some research on the GNRHS, they can do it. Today, that's not fully possible. You can do some stuff, but you can't do very much. So that's the biggest issue that we're doing. We have one guy that's dedicated to doing that all the time. Every time he comes down there, he gets the brilliant privilege of looking at everybody else's mistakes. We're working on cataloging various collections that we were behind on. We were down to less than 2 constant, or not constant, but 2 regular people working about a year ago. So we've come a long way in that itself. The archive, we have an excellent relationship with the good folks at the MTM. It's taken a while to work on that, but we have it. They've let us into some of their collection. They have some of the best, some pictures that we hadn't seen since about 2005, somewhere in there, that had to do with cars, box cars and stuff like that. And for our, what we call our freight car Nazis, we've got a few of them. They need those are the best pictures that you can probably, or some of the best pictures you can come up with. And we now have some access to those, and they are being scanned that hadn't been scanned before. Some of these have never scanned. So that's some of the things that we're doing on the East End. Anybody who ever that's on this side of the country is in the Twin Cities area, wants to stop in and see. We're there every Tuesday between 10 in the morning and 2, 3, sometimes 4 in the afternoon. It just depends on how busy we are. If you have any, if you want to do some research, we are more than happy to help you. We've got Doug Complin, our archivist, Stu Holmquist. We can point you in a direction that you would need to get just about anything you want if it's available through the record system. So don't ever be afraid to ask. And we, as the final one, we're always looking for volunteers. You guys, anybody wants to come down on a Tuesday and work with some of the, well, not with some, with the original GN products. And I mean original. There are some AFEs that I've been working with when I was down there that were over 120 years old. They almost melt in your hands, shall we say. So, but there's information in there that you just wouldn't believe, from documents to maps to pictures. So please come down and help us. We'd love to have you. Any questions on the East End?
Okay, and then Bob's going to handle in the first presentation the West End. So, Tom, you want to give us any updates on the hopefully Nelson Convention and how that's going?
Yes, I will. Well, the good news is the CPHA is with us again for the planning of this. So it will be a joint convention with Canadian Pacific and Great Northern. Planning is proceeding. The hotel is totally on side with us. We have all the rooms booked and committed already. The issue now is the pandemic. I discussed this extensively with my wife last night, and we decided that one way or another there will be a Nelson convention. That may be a virtual tie-in for those who are unable to attend in person. But one way or another, we will do Nelson in 2022. It's just a question of how. So we will work on that over the next year, and details will be in the January issue as normal, or the March issue as normal, with registration information. And this may be a hybrid. And if so, it will be a new experience for many of us, but we'll find a way to make it happen. And that's about it for now. Any questions?
I'm definitely looking forward to the Nelson Convention. I worked a considerable amount of years from Kettle Falls, Washington, and to Nelson, British Columbia. And I'll tell you, the country up there is absolutely gorgeous. I worked both summer and winter. Winters were a little bit tough, but nevertheless, beautiful country. And a lot of history up there, and for not only the Great Northern, but just the whole area. Does anybody have any questions?
We're still planning on making the Salmo Depot one of our main stops, and that is, as far as we know, the last original unrestored Great Northern Depot on the system. Still looks like it did in the 1950s.
Tom, you may have mentioned this. Is it still a joint convention with the Canadian Pacific
Still
Group?
a joint convention with Canadian Pacific, yes. So there may be more of them than us because they all live on that side of the border. But it's on.
How do you get to Nelson?
Well, you basically go to Spokane and drive north. In a perfect world, we would have tour buses or shuttle buses picking people up in Spokane from Amtrak and heading north up into Nelson. Subject to the pandemic, of course, if we still have to do the testing before we're allowed to cross the border, that may put a slight ratchet into things, but we will hope that that's a thing of the past by Nelson. So.
The nearest airports would be Vancouver, or someplace.
Well, they do have regional airports in the area. Nelson has a small airport, but nothing bigger than a Learjet would go in there. Kamloops, Kelowna, they're all major airports that would land at 737 and bigger. The major international airport would be Vancouver or Calgary, Alberta. And then you rent a vehicle and drive from there. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you got a rental car, you'd have to rent it in Canada, because I know there's always a major, you really can't take a US rental car across the Canadian border.
Well, not without a major hassle anyway. Yeah.
Any other convention questions? Does anybody have any other questions that they would like some information on?
Hey, John.
I like
Yes.
the idea of a virtual or the virtual convention in addition to actually going there. I don't know if I can make it, but I'd like to.
All signals are green, Ron.
I didn't catch all of that, Ron.
Ron, you muted yourself.
Yeah, I've got it says I got a poor connection here, but anyway, I would like to have the virtual presentation in addition to the actual physical one at Nelson, because I don't know if I can make it there, but
Yeah.
you get that?
Yep.
Yep.
We'll have to work out the logistics of how it will happen, because doing virtual field trips is a bit of a challenge. The actual presentations won't be too bad. That's what we're doing this weekend. And the business meetings and the like. But all stuff for us to look at over the next year.
We used to do that. Jeff Otto used to handle that, but he's retired from that task. So I don't know if you've got somebody out there, Tom, that could handle that or not.
Yeah, I think we do. I think we do.
That would be great, because for those that can't make it to Nelson, it would give them an opportunity to see a little bit and learn a little bit about the Great Northern and that part of the country.
Yep.
That they entered at Juanita, ran up to Fruitvale, and then also the Great Northern serviced Grand Forks and back down into Republic and Curlew. So,
And the Juanita, the Fruitvale line is still in and still operating. It's a private line now. And the owner of that line has a passenger coach, and the plan is for us to have rides in that coach up and down the line. So that would be part of the Selmo tour.
okay, well, the reason that line is still in service is there's ore that comes out of Alaska and comes down by barge. And it's a really high grade ore. And the Burlington Northern's bid on it, but they figured that CP, due to the fact they own the smelter, would get the contract. CP didn't bid on it, so the Burlington Northern got stuck with it. They had to upgrade the line from Dean or Spokane, you might as well say, all the way up to Juanita, and they unload that stuff at Juanita and then truck it up to the smelter at Trail. They had to rebuild all the bridges because they couldn't stand the weight of the trucks. And that's a real high grade ore. And it's called Red Dog ore because the guy that found the mine had a big Irish setter, so he named the mine after the dog.
Wow, interesting.
I give you a little history there.
The rail line north of the border is known as the Nelson in Port Shepard. And it's owned by the people who own the forest products company in Fruitvale. And they're very proud of the fact it's the Nelson in Port Shepard, and they maintain it well. They lease the right of way from BNSF. And when we first started talking to them, they told us, well, BNSF might not go for it, but we resolved that little problem straight away. So they've been on board with us ever since, and they're really looking forward to having us visit and riding on their Nelson in Port Shepard.
That was the original name of the line.
That was the original name of the line, yes. It was.
So you're really going back in history now.
We are, yes.
Anybody have any questions pertaining to the Nelson Convention?
John?
Yes.
Bill Sorensen here. I was intrigued by the rental car comments, so I've been Googling while you guys were talking. And Tom is right that it can be a hassle to rent a car in the US and drive to Canada, but only if you forget one thing. I would encourage everybody watching to go ahead and check your favorite rental car site. It turns out it's actually very easy to do. You just have to tell, and I'm looking at the Avis site right now, they're happy to let you drive into Canada. You have to just tell the rental car agent your plans and get a non-resident insurance card, which is free. They'll give it to you. It's called a yellow card. If you do that, you can drive into Canada without a problem. The hassle comes if you forget to do that and you don't have the card.
Thank you.
So join us in Nelson.
Very good to know. Thank you.
Anybody got any further questions? Okay. I'm about done here, so unless we've got further questions or somebody wants to
John?
bring up something. Yeah, Bob.
John, Bob Showers here. I just want to make a comment about the board of directors to the membership that's out there viewing. So in the September go, we have a call for nominations for 2 upcoming board seats, which are going to end at the end of this year. But some may not know that one of our directors is missing from the convention. That's Jeff Meyer, and he recently had a couple serious strokes. We don't know what his future is going to be with the board here. So his seat was not up for re-election, but he might not be able to fulfill his duties. So there might actually be 3 board of directors that we need. So I just want to encourage people to think about running for the board. Write up your little bio and your information and send it to Don McLaughlin or another board member or Mary McLaughlin to get that so we can print it for the December vote, which will have the ballots and all the candidates' information. And then with the December vote, the membership will be able to vote. So for those of you that didn't know about Jeff, keep him in your thoughts, and it's a possibility we're going to be looking for 3 new board members, 2 for sure, possibly 3.
To give a little update on Jeff and what happened, he lives in Arkansas. Where exactly in Arkansas, I am not quite sure. They just moved there. He went to Dallas, Texas to purchase a car and had a stroke at the dealership. I transported him to a hospital where he had a second stroke, and they're trying, and I have not been able to contact his partner. I keep trying and I have not heard back. I'm going to keep trying until I get more information on how Jeff's doing. Once they got him stabilized, they were going to try to move him back to Arkansas. So that is all the information I have on Jeff Meyer. And like Bob said, keep him in your prayers, because having 2 strokes back to back, he's going to have a lot of rehab to get back to normal. Anybody have any further questions or comments?
All right, John, Bob, again, I'll make another comment on another subject. For the members out there that are viewing this for the first time, we do have a auction going on with Bidding Owl. Normally, if we had a get-together convention, I'd be trying to sell you some raffle tickets. So in order to get a little money built up for our Heritage Fund, I believe that's where this money will go from these auction items, will be to the Heritage Fund. You can click on the link to get to the Bidding Owl website, register, get all that done. Then you can bid on these items at the end of the convention on next Sunday. The bidding's going to close and the high bid will win. And instead of me selling you them tickets, I'm going to remind you to go to the website and view them items and put a bid in for us. We would appreciate it.
As long as you open the can of worms, I'm going to follow up with it. We'll talk about the Heritage Fund. The board has sponsored through a Heritage Fund grant, the patent at the steam engine at Wilmer, Minnesota. I believe that they are in the process of repainting that steam engine. At St. Cloud, that group got a grant. They inherited a SW1 switcher, which they're putting in Empire Builder colors. And they're also wiring the engine with 110 and run the lines underground so that all the lights on the engine will be on 24/7, which will look rather impressive. It's the engine is sitting there hooked to 2 Great Northern boxcars. One of them is the Express Reefer. The other one is and painted in glacier green with Rocky. And then years ago, about what, 10 years, I guess, about 10 years ago, they inherited a caboose from us, and they completely restored the caboose. So they have a nice display there at St. Cloud. I was approached by Mansfield, Washington, the Museum and Historical Society in Mansfield, Washington, requesting a grant so they could put out a publication at cost for the people that purchase it. I think it's $15 is what it cost. The whole history of that Mansfield branch line that had several disasters where the entire line was washed out in the spring thaw. We've also given a large contribution to twice to the Inland Northwest Rail Museum at Reardon, Washington, that has who is restoring the 974 heavyweight coach complete. They are in the process of painting, and they have half of their car painted. They had to do a tremendous amount of replacement or work on the roof due to rust out. I've been up there a couple of times and viewed their progress. The inside looks absolutely fabulous, and they're painting the outside. They're eventually going to have a tour train from their location towards Cooley City and back. They also own 3 heavyweight coaches that they're getting transported back from Lyon up there in eastern Washington. That Pova used to run a tour train, and they're no longer doing that. So they're going to get those 3 cars back. They're going to put together this tour train eventually. They also got from the Burlington Northern Santa Fe a GP9, excuse me, an SD9 with the dynamic brake at the 598 that they got now on the property, and they're going to put that back in service. So that's what the Heritage Fund really does. It helps these 501c3s with their Great Northern preservation of the Great Northern history or equipment. Anybody got any further questions?
Yeah, we had a question in the chat about the SD9 in Skykomish. Does anybody know anything new that's going on with that one?
The last time I was out there, which was about a month ago, they're trying to get the 974 coach done, and then they're going to move that 598 SD9 in there and start working on it.
Hold on, John. John, I'm talking about the SD9 in Skykomish.
Oh, they were negotiating with getting the traction motors out from underneath that one at Sky. I don't know how they're doing on that. They're going to have to do that with the help of the BNSF. And they were going to try to get the whole unit. I don't know if they're going to swing that or not. So due to the fact you're dealing with the railroad, everything comes as a surprise. So that's the only thing I can give you on that. Any further questions? Any further comments? Well, I guess we will be having the archives presentation at 11 o'clock. Hopefully, you guys are enjoying this. I see we have a good attendance. What was the last attendance, Tom?
But we're now at the 39.
Okay. How many signed up for the whole convention?
Oh, we're probably pushing around 175, 180.
That's a good turnout.
That's a very good turnout.
So, okay, it's like I say, this will start at 11 o'clock. If nobody has any other questions or comments, we'll be here at 11 o'clock for the archives presentation. Thank you very much.
I got a couple comments for Mac. So
Okay.
yesterday I was asking about making donations other than through the membership that's on the store site. But back on the GNRHS site, there is a place to go in and make donations there. So my apologies to you, Mac. There is a way, just not through the store.
As I said, I want to talk to Bill. I think we ought to have a straight donation site on the store so people don't have to flail around and try to find stuff.
We can
Okay.
add that in about 10 seconds, Mac. Just tell me where to put the link and I'll do it today.
I figured you could.
I'm at your service, man.
I know. I'll call you on the phone.
Thank you, Joel, for the push.
Yes. So the second item from Mac's presentation yesterday, Father Dale had a comment about somebody, a Becker or Beaker. So I looked that up a little bit yesterday, and possibly he's thinking about George Beaker, Becker, who was the president of the St. Paul and Pacific, and he tried to get the Northern Pacific to buy the St. Paul and Pacific, or take the receivership of the St. Paul and Pacific. So that might be what Father Dale was thinking about. I'm not sure.
He's down there. I don't know if he can hear us or not.
He's muted.
Yeah. Apparently he doesn't have his ears on.
Father Dale's presentation is at.
There he is.
Yeah, he's there.
I'm here.
All right.
I did a little research after last night's discussion, and I struck out. I remembered the story wrong, and I found another name of another character, but it just didn't agree with the details. So forget everything you said.
What was your story that you did find?
Well, the story that I did find. Oh yeah, this character was one of the associates, or wanted to be an associate. He had a finger in the pie, and so he felt he was entitled to, some pile of money to be bought out. Hill refused, and it went to the Supreme Court, and he lost. And if I had a minute, I could probably think of his name, but in any case, he was one of those characters.
Receiver Farley.
It was.
Farley, who was the receiver of St. Paul and Pacific, and who, as I said yesterday, was pretty much worthless. But you're thinking of Farley.
Yeah, I think you're right. 10-4.
Okay, anybody got any other questions? Comments?
Okay, we will see you all at 11 Central Time for the archive presentation.
And thank you for attending this morning.